Hey,
What up? What up?
what's going
Hello.
on? Get Real Pod. Sorry.
I know. No, I'm just kidding.
Overrated.
Okay. Because we both, feel the same. What up? Get real. This is the pod family, okay? What's cracking with you?
Oh, I know. We're keeping it going. So regardless of when you're seeing it, you let us know. Anybody that is watching it for the very first time, hit us in our comments. You know the deal. But we got a brand new topic for this month, for this episode, and I'm ready to dive into it.
Let's get into it because it is crucial. Something that we all been slipping, and I'm calling us all out.
For sure.
In many aspects of our lives, okay? Personal, professional.
Yeah. I mean, we wanted to refer kind of back to one of our earlier episodes about boundaries. That particular one goes just more in depth about tips that we could share about how to set boundaries and why they're important. But we both recognize that there's definitely times that people don't take you seriously. So you're out here trying and having those conversations with boundaries and new ways that you want to be handled, talked to, interacted with, but maybe those people that you're setting the boundaries with aren't hearing you. So we're going to focus a little bit more so not on actually setting the boundaries. If you want information about that, definitely go check out that episode and let us know what you think about it. But when people aren't taking you seriously,
How rude, right? Doesn't have you feeling good. You're not looking good with it. And sometimes it can be a tough conversation to have, especially depending on who it is that is not taking you serious, right? Um, I think all of us could agree that coworkers, associates, you might have no problem putting them in their place about your boundary. You're like, oh no, that's not what we're doing. But then when it comes to mom, dad, sister, brother, aunt, uncle, you're like, it's okay. No
yeah.
worries. I'll circle back. And then you're two times, three times, 10 times down the road. And it's like, okay, so when are we addressing that boundary again or circling back and letting them know that what you stated, what's important to you is real. Um, I know I've definitely still working through. Um, I think there's been um, progress, of course. Uh, I can think of, and this goes back years, and I'm going to call him out simply because I gave him a shout out earlier. I boosted him a little bit, but my brother Port, um, growing up, still maybe I don't really know, but super heavy. What was the word I'm looking for? Like gamer. Love the whole game. That's what the guys do, the boys do. Um, and
There's some
truthfully,
pro gamers out there.
true, true. I don't want to, play y'all. Shout out to the female gamers. Not me. Unless it's Tetris or Sims. Holla at me. Um, but and not even just pork, but I feel like very early on, my early 20s. No, I'm just kidding. I was somewhat like or I feel like a lot of the siblings, if not all of them, Shanice included. No, I'm just kidding. Maybe. Viewed me like a personal ATM. And I shared that with the, I'm like, wait a minute. Even my godchildren now, they be hitting me up on some, can you just send it? But anyways, reverting back, I think Pork had to be like what, like five? No, he had to be like maybe like
You're
older because he
fortunate.
definitely
Yeah.
knew right. Like he knew right
No,
from wrong.
at least probably like 10.
I would agree. I'd agree. So in short, um, if any of my siblings like wanted something, needed something, I would. Like I played a huge role in it. Like I'm like, yeah, no, like I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna give it to them. I'm gonna get it, whatever, whatever. So I remember Pork had hit me up one day. I probably was at college or something, and he was like, "Hey, Jazz, like, I really wanna play this game, but I need X amount." And I was like, "Okay, no problem." Um, this is a one-time fee, right? Like I'm not doing anything extra. Like one time, I think it was like $20 or something. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not even sweating. I was probably working three jobs anyways at that time. So I was like, I can handle that. So, on game systems, you have to enter the credit card, debit card, whatever. So I gave him that information and I say, look, again, just one time situation, no problem. Boop, boop, boop. Let it ride. I'm sure had a blast playing. Okay. Fast forward. Couldn't even tell you the exact timeline, but it was some time in between. Um, and happened to be looking at my account and I'm like, what is this? What is this charge? And it had to be like another 25 or maybe $30. Then I see another one a couple days later and I'm like, what is happening? So I call my bank because I feel like the description wasn't super clear. So I call them and they, let me know. It's, oh, okay, it's on this place, this system, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, hold on. Hit up port. I said, well, now wait a minute. I said, I remember getting on the call and I said, is my card still attached to your profile? And he was like, I don't think he thought anything of it. So he right immediately he was like, think so. And I'm like, can you check? Like, can you like right now while I'm over the phone? And of course he's like, I thought. And the way he answered, I knew what it was. Like I knew he was playing. He's like, no, I deleted it. And I'm like, yeah, no, let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and check. And sure enough, he checks and he goes, oh, I don't even know how this is still on here. I definitely deleted it. And I'm like, now pull up. Have you been just like hitting, purchase? And no, and then no, but then it was like, oh, I might have by accident, like just not realizing. And of course, I'm I don't want to say I wasn't mad, but I'm like, don't try to play me. You know what I'm saying? And I just like, respectfully, I might have raised my voice a little bit, nothing too crazy. But I was like, you need to delete that. Like, I'm not out here just free nilly, just letting you purchase all these kind of things. And although, again, respecting the gaming world, like if you were like, I bought a book, or you know what I'm saying, like something like a little more down the road, I'd be like, okay, but um for gaming, I'm like, no, but then also again within the boundary, it's like, no, that's one in the beginning, I set clear expectations, right? Like this is a one-time fee. I'm down to do that, no problem. Make sure you delete it. And then what does he do? Not only it hit me once, it hit me twice. Um, with again him being fully aware of what he was doing in a stranger situation, oh, I would have been furious. And then to be honest, there would probably be no more communication after that. Like well, let me back up. I would never give my account information to a friend or associate or anything like that. It would be no, I ain't got it like that. I'm not doing that. Um, being my sibling, being someone that I'm like, innocent and blah blah blah. I remember I didn't even tell Dad and Tracy about this for like I think a month or two. And I remember, I don't know if it happened to slip up or something, but I remember
Oh,
Dad was pissed.
as far as I remember, you called him, told him to remove it. And then I don't think he actually did, and there was another charge
Yeah,
that you ended up having to get dad involved. And
yeah.
yeah, he was
He
super
was
mad about that.
furious.
Because it
And
just kind of obviously just being a kid at a young age, like being honest and just teaching kids morals and stuff like that. But I wasn't even involved, and I remember hearing about that story. And I just want to pause real quick for those that don't know, because she said it at least 5 times. Pork is a nickname for our brother
oh,
Sean.
my bad.
She forgets that's his real name, so I'm sure at his age now he does not want to technically be called that, but
Shoot.
gotta deal with part of it. But yeah, that definitely is a big example of someone like your sibling that you're maybe letting it ride for a little while, even if you caught the first charge. Maybe you're like, all right, maybe it's an accident. It's still not that much money or something. I got it. But then the third charge comes, and then after having that second conversation not happening again, yeah, that's definitely, you know, regardless of who that person is to us, like taking advantage of the
Mm-hmm.
fact that you might not catch it. You didn't catch it for a while the first time, so you might not catch it again.
Right.
And I can get one more, whatever bucks those things are called, or I don't even know. I'm so
Mhm.
part of the gaming
Yeah,
faith.
I even remember like, and this was in I when Dad got mad, I remember feeling terrible. Like I was like, oh my God, like terrible for poor. And I'm like, wait a minute. In the real world, you would not bat an eye. Like, why are you feeling bad? What he was wrong. He was absolutely wrong. I understood why Dad was mad for sure, and I understood why Polk needed to get lit up. But I was like, dang, like he didn't, but and I'm making every excuse of why it was happening or why, why he did it, blah, 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 blah. But regardless, as you said, I wasn't being taken serious. And, you know, thankfully, dad stepped in there and drew the line for me. But in life, you more often than not, especially in your adulthood, there aren't folks out there going to draw that line for you. You have to do it.
Right. I
So,
mean, I can think of plenty of examples myself too, just being a parent alone, where I'm honestly not, I don't like confrontation. That's what it really boils down to. So no matter who it is, I try to avoid it at all cost. And that also can include allowing, a budding teenager to kind of get over on me when it comes down to doing her chores, or anything that a task I might do, like she'll put it off. But reason why she does it and does it so often is because I don't really follow through with, even if I told her what the consequence would be, I give her 20 more chances. Or I don't like confrontation that much that I might not even say anything at all. So I definitely think that, at least from other stories I've also heard, it does seem like it's family members that get away with quite a lot, because for a variety of reasons. Maybe you feel guilty for some type of trauma you guys went through together,
mhm.
or it doesn't have to be that deep, but it could be literally any reason why you feel like that person you should give more slack to. And like Jasmine said, you're not you're not going to be giving that same type of slack to someone that you're not that close with, and you should be holding those people that are close to you, that should care about how you feel, more than a stranger or an associate or coworker, whatever. They should care more about how you feel. So those ones should be the ones you're actually upholding those boundaries probably even more. You know
Mhm.
me. You say you love me or care about me enough. So if I tell you something is making me uncomfortable, I don't like it, I don't want you to do that anymore, then you should be taking that way seriously. And I think it's just not the case because of those types of relationships.
I agree.
Um, what would you say? Like, obviously, sometimes these things are in hindsight, especially with the example you shared, but even if you could do it differently, because you said, you mentioned like you kind of felt guilty and you didn't necessarily address it right away, type of things, what would you say are like someone's best practices to how they could respond if they're noticing someone repetitively going over a boundary?
Hmm. I I think there's a variety of different things that could, work. And I think it does depend on, well, it shouldn't, but I do think sometimes it will depend on your relationship. But, um, first and foremost, just making sure that you have set boundaries. Um, those clear expectations are from out the gate, right? Be raw, be real with what you're saying. But even before that is having your own space kind of like individually, and it might sound cheesy because I know not everybody is like a firm believer of all this, but you need to be. Having that one-on-one time that you are writing out, right? Identifying what are your boundaries, right? Being honest with yourself about those, and evaluating like how important, truly important X boundary is to you and how it aligns with your values or moral compass, right? Um, and I think within that of you setting those boundaries, okay, and then We all know your girl loves a good why. So it's like, okay, my boundary is, I don't even know, but my boundary is this. Why is that important to me? Because that displays respect. And why is respect important to me? Because that's just what I need in my life right now, right? Like, or in general. So I think that, like, for me, that would be the first thing of just at first identifying what are your boundaries and why they're so important to you. Because, just like with goals and dreams, if you don't have your why, it's going to fall to the wayside as more time goes on, right? Because you don't have something to circle back of like, oh yeah, like I set that goal, I set that boundary because of this, and I'm not willing to negotiate. This is a non-negotiable.
Yeah. I think that's super important. That would like be probably my number one as far as like how to respond to someone that's repetitively abusing it is, well, kind of like right before, like you said, right before it, and tied to just being honest with yourself. Don't just set these boundaries because they sound nice. Like they need to have that dedicated reason as to why, or it's going to make sense why you're letting people run over it outside of however you emotionally feel towards that person. If you don't understand or really want or need that boundary there, it's not going to matter. The person
Yeah.
that's repetitively going over it, ignoring it, they clearly don't care. They definitely don't care. And even if they should, even though they're the closest person to you and they're the ones who are repetitively going over the boundaries that you set, clearly they don't care enough.
Mm-hmm.
And
You
if you
know,
don't care enough to um stand up for yourself and say I can't tolerate this,
yep.
and actually have a follow-up conversation. With boundaries, I don't think it can be just like one conversation because those could be new. They're new to you if
Yep.
you're just starting setting them. They're also new to the people that you're sharing that boundary with. So
Yeah.
yeah, there's going to be times that maybe accidentally, hopefully in the beginning, they continue to do it because they maybe got in the habit of it and didn't realize how much it affected you until that initial conversation. So
Mm-hmm.
you might have to follow up and be like, hey, like, I don't know if you realized you were doing this again, but it's still bothering me and I need it to stop. And maybe you have to go that step forward and be like, okay, like if it doesn't, either by this time frame, if you need to get that real, then we're either going to have to part ways. I'm going to have to switch up how I interact with you. I'm going to distance myself. Um, some type of consequence I think also would have to be taken place for someone who keeps going over it. Otherwise, if there's no consequence, there's no actual impact to them continuing to do it or deciding to stop just because you asked them to, which would be nice if that was the case, but not everybody works that way, then they're most likely also going to keep doing it.
Yeah. I don't know what, like, going in my brain was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Um, because it can even happen because it doesn't, what I think, right? It doesn't necessarily, most often it is someone like repetitive behaviors of one person, but it could also be multiple people crossing the same exact boundary where
True.
after a certain amount of time, you're like, you know what? All right.
Everybody's doing it.
Yeah, like I'll just roll with it. And and there's a couple, but the reason it just popped in my brain is because it was so fresh and having dialogues. Um, I remember in college, and I don't know if you remember this story. This is when I was in step, and um, Shanice and I, don't get us wrong, like our parents definitely swore, like cussing was a thing, but not as heavy as I think a lot of people are used to. And I sometimes, I might boop, 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 but nothing like crazy. Um, but going back, so college, I was always someone that B word, don't rock with it. And I am gonna ride for anyone that I feel like it's being used and it's disrespectful, regardless if I know them or not. And so back at Bentley, there was this group or a couple of gentlemen. At that time, they weren't gentlemen, they were actually jerks. But they came from an environment where they used it left and right. And the way that I perceive currently, even to date, the way I perceive the word being used is complete disrespect. Um, I think there's other words that you can use, and I don't care if you are just like loosely saying it, like, what up, B? And I'm like, no, like, say my name, say, something else. But anyways, I remember they had called this girl it on the bus, and I had talked about setting clear expectations, or excuse me, setting clear boundaries. Day one, I don't know how the conversation came up, but I had like shared like, I don't like the word, like it really gets my blood boiling a little bit. So we're now like a month in, and we were on the bus and they were getting on this girl. Not only did they were referring to her as that, but they were going hard. So there were other disrespectful things that were being said, and I remember like I was so heated in the conversation. Um, one, I shouldn't say I wasn't even a part of the conversation, but I put myself a part of the conversation, and I was like, absolutely not. We're shutting this down right now. And of course, the guy, like, I was cool with them. I mean, even today, like, I am cool with them. But this moment, I was like, no. And they were like, Jazz, like, mind your business, blah blah blah. Like, we're playing around, and she is one. And I'm like, what you're not gonna do is do this in my presence. And of course, they're like, why are you even tripping like that? I said, like I've told you a month ago, is completely disrespectful, and blah blah blah. This turned into a big thing, like a huge, like we had a group meeting, everything, like to just address like how it makes you know women feel. It makes us like, because the rest of the girls that were in the group felt the same exact way. They were just so afraid to speak up to these
Mm.
guys, and I'm like, yeah, right. This is my boundary again, and non-negotiable. Fast forward, where I'm going with this is even currently listening to songs, talking to Anthony, right? I'm like, no, I genuinely don't play with that. And if that's something in songs, like, granted, it comes across loosely sometimes, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's a banger. But I'll skip it, right? Like, again, non-negotiables. Like, I'm not gonna be in this environment where we're like b b b b b b b b b b b. I'm like, it makes me feel um it just, to me, I view the word as negative. And everyone knows, like, I don't want to be in a negative environment. And
Mm.
I think that again fosters it a little bit, for at least for me. This is my personal feelings and view on the word. But
Yeah.
um
And I mean, as far as I can understand too, because like I don't think I have as strong feelings about the word as maybe you do, although I also swear even less than
yeah,
this girl over here, probably. Um, I think at least how I interpret it for you is it also diminishes what you believe a woman is and stands for. So
exactly.
why would you associate yourself with a word or be cool with it, no matter how someone's using it, if it tarnishes your image of a woman?
Right.
And that's valid. Being a woman, even if you weren't a woman, I think it's so valid why you don't like it. Um, but yeah,
Do
I
you
get it.
do, do you feel um like off the top of your head, like you have like strong non-negotiables when it comes to
I feel like I'm so loose with boundaries, to be honest.
yeah,
um, I don't know. Honestly, like I feel like I'm go with the flow with most things until it rubs me wrong. Until I'm like, oh, like that didn't actually feel right. Um, mm, I feel like mine are gonna be so basic, like compared to the examples you gave.
actually, you know what comes to my mind, and maybe it's not something that's like you would say as a non-negotiable, but kinda, because I feel like both of you and I have this a little bit too. As you said, you're not confrontational, right? Um, I, I believe
Mm.
maybe something that is a non-negotiable for you is to be in an environment of um heated arguments. And so you will maybe I was gonna say you set clear, maybe not, you don't set those clear expectations, but you
I
will
don't
remove
I don't
yourself.
think I set them clear, but I definitely remove myself.
Yeah,
Um, but
same.
one that did what you made me think about,
Mm-hmm.
kind of similar to how you feel about the B word. I just don't tolerate you disrespecting like a woman in general. Um, I do know that there's like culturally sometimes differences in how men interact with women, but because we weren't raised that way, I mean, yes, everybody argues and we can have our opinions about what we've experienced and everything, but because whether I witnessed it or not, I don't like it that much. There was one time, and this is what made me think of this too. There was one time I was working at T-Mobile. Remember when I was working at that like little kiosk in the
Yes, yeah.
mall that where we grew up? I had this regular customer. So cool. He was so cool. Regular customer. He would try to flirt with me, whatever. That's another story for a different day, and it wasn't happening. Um, but he was just so cool. Like I enjoyed every single time. We always had a respectful interaction, all that. There was one day he's walking like through the mall, but on his way to me. Like he was about to go pay his bill, whatever, whatever he normally would see me for, I forget. Um, but he's on the phone and then kind of stops right before the kiosk because he is about to come over to me.
Mm-hmm.
He is like disrespecting, and you can tell it's a woman. Like calling her out her name, calling her the B word, like calling her stupid, like something you can tell is definitely verbal abuse was going on. Like it wasn't just a regular little argument that you shouldn't be having in public anyway, but he was going in disrespectfully. Um, she must have been in the mall because she did end up like coming to where they were. He like exchanged
Oh.
her real quick, but that was like more hush because she was right in his face or whatever. I was cold to him after. Like he
Mm-hmm.
still came, and then he realized that I wasn't interacting with him in my normal warm manner. I almost wasn't gonna say anything because I was like, okay, you're still a customer of mine, even though we're cool, we're not necessarily friends, and I still have to be professional. This is my job. What you were doing is technically not my business, but you just did it in a
Right.
public arena. There's kids around. Like there was so many factors going on. Like one, don't deal with how you were speaking to the woman. I don't care what she did. And from what I could hear, it wasn't anything serious enough for you to be talking to anybody like that. Two, there are children in this mall, and you are being loud and obnoxious in an area that they don't also need to be exposed to that. So because he realized, he asked me like, is everything okay? Almost didn't say anything. I was gonna just still be cold, finish the transaction, like let him go about his day. But I was like, you know what? I feel like we had a good enough relationship that I'm about to be honest with it because it's unfortunate that we were, cordial enough
Mm-hmm.
before that, and that you just completely like rubbed me the wrong way. So I let him know. I
Good.
was like, I can't speak to what you do in your own house. That is your business between, behind closed doors. But what you just displayed right now is a side of you that I unfortunately would never want to see in anyone. And this
Mm-hmm.
makes me not want to even take your business, like even a
Yeah.
professional sense. Makes me not want to with you at all because I don't tolerate that. I would never tolerate someone talking to me or someone I cared about like the way that you talk to this woman, and I don't even know her.
Mm.
So even with strangers, like I can't deal with even strangers being disrespected. Yes, it usually is tended to be like towards women because I feel like for some reason, I'll call it what it is. I feel like women are perceived as sometimes weaker,
Mm-hmm.
and it's almost more acceptable for people to be more aggressive towards them. I'm not saying that women can't also be the aggressors and be verbally abusive or physically anything like that. It definitely happens for sure and probably more than we think. But for me, it just absolutely not.
Yeah.
He did end up understanding and respecting what I said. That never occurred again, at least while I was there, at least. I don't
Yeah.
know otherwise, but I think it threw him off that like I literally, because of my personal values, I couldn't interact with him until one, I cleared it up, and two, if he was like, oh well, I don't agree, whatever, whatever, like that would have just been the end of whatever type of professional relationship that would have been. So that actually did make me think of that. So I would say that is probably the only really, really non-negotiable, I just said that wrong, whatever, that I have. Everything else, like I have to probably dig into some other ones that I could be like, I'm just not going to put up with it.
Yeah.
But blatant disrespect,
I
not
hear
even
that,
directed
girl.
towards a specific word, but being ignorant. Oh, I guess
Mm-hmm.
that saying ignorant things, blanket statements about groups of people, generations, races, just being straight ignorant and generic. I don't know. I
It's
can't.
so it's so great, at least from like I'm over here all proud in my corner. Of just because I feel like when we're able to um stick to our boundaries, remain firm, it not only I believe naturally just displays who you are as a person, also, a natural boost, right? A boost of confidence in its own way of like you can walk with your head high. You can walk into rooms and be like, yeah, and it is this. Okay. Um, Now to hear, how easy it was for you to talk about this with a stranger. I'm even like, I know we could go on a tangent on this question I'm about to ask, so spare me. No, I'm just kidding. That was rude. But like in a professional setting, do you feel like you've experienced where you haven't been taken on the whole women vibe, where you haven't been taken seriously in your role, whether current role or previous roles?
I wouldn't say now. I think where I'm at now,
Awesome.
it's definitely the opposite, which I'm grateful for. I would say in the role of being like specifically T-Mobile, plenty of times
Yeah.
on like a gender level, plenty of
Hmm.
times. It was a sales based job and it just came with the territory. So yeah, definitely could have other stories
Yeah.
related to that, but I also didn't really put up with that either. Like it was just like it may just be transactional, like I'm just gonna finish it and get you out of here. I
Yep.
don't have anything else to say, or I'm going to remove myself.
Right.
Um, I think that just goes along with like sticking to, like, if I feel that strongly about it. And this also, for at least the two things I mentioned about people being ignorant and disrespectful, I know those are non negotiables no matter who you are. So,
Yep.
family, all y'all can get it. So,
Oh,
um, the or else, like, the consequence is you're probably going to see a side of Shanice you never even thought. Like
yeah.
I low key probably even see red, blackout. I don't know what happens, but
Blue, purple, uh,
it's
all the
totally
things.
opposite of what people usually see me as, like this chill flower child kind of
Yeah.
person. Like
I
it's different.
definitely I definitely hear that in work recently. We've been having more dialogues just of like women in the workspace and similar. And well, I should say my current role, I definitely feel that gender of not being taken seriously. And then in, you know, that other situation for sure. But I do think that, you and I were definitely raised a little bit different. Our demeanor is definitely a little bit different from, I think. And why I'm even saying that is, hearing you say like that, yeah, no, I won't even tolerate that. And same for me. It's like, I shouldn't say, currently I'm still struggling a little bit. Um, but I'm still voicing where I'm at and I'm not budging.
Mhm.
Um, and I think it's important for everyone listening, but also, specific to women's is um to women's. That was not a word.
I was gonna say,
Um, oh God. Um, hold yourself accountable for those boundaries that you are so set on. And being firm, right? Regardless if this is your direct boss, this is the CEO, this is, an employee, whoever it may be, is putting them in their place, respectfully, of course, on the initial. But if it continues to be a behavior, I think there are steps that you can take that are extremely productive and can move you along in the right direction. We got to do that. We have to do that. And don't be afraid to even reset expectations if that is something that,
right.
if
And
you feel
that's
like it's been missed.
focusing on, like, people are continuing to do it. Maybe we need to refocus. Maybe we need to say it in a different way. Maybe we need to up the ante on that consequence that they will feel. You shouldn't be the only one feeling a consequence if you're letting them override it. You're the only
Yep.
one feeling terrible at that point. So, I think that perfectly kind of just ties into our activity for
Hmm.
this month anyway. Definitely take a look at that previous episode about boundaries in general, about how you can set them. Take a listen, let us know what you think about what we are talking about here with revisiting those boundaries, making sure that they're true to what you need, what you want in your life, not just making them up out of nowhere and why you have them there. And then no tolerance for the things that you don't want to deal with anymore.
Absolutely.
Um, so Do you want to share the what's the word? I can share what's the word.
Get into it, girl. You want to roll.
All right, all right. So, our what's the word activity for this week is for you to recognize anyone in your life that is continuously, it doesn't have to be like 80 times, but it could be a few times, continuously stepping over a boundary that you set. If you're on this journey with us and you are putting in the work and trying to set those boundaries, figure out who are these people that continue to step over those boundaries. Is it one boundary, multiple people, like Jasmine said, or is it one person and a particular boundary that you just don't want? You don't want that anymore. So recognizing that person, also recognizing why are you allowing them to pass that boundary?
Mm-hmm.
What's causing it? Is it that you don't have a strong enough connection to the why?
Yep.
Is it your relationship to that person? Jasmine mentioned writing it down. I also am going to co-sign with writing things down because that's just the way I internalize a lot of information, and sometimes it's a way to get it out of your brain to make
Yep.
it make more sense or to help you make it more sense. Make more sense. I can't even talk, guys. So recognizing who's overstepping, why are we allowing it, and then figure out, be serious and honest with yourself. What can you do to change it if that's what
Absolutely.
you really want? If that boundary you don't actually care about, get rid of it. Why are you causing yourself extra stress because you made up this boundary because someone else said it and it sounded nice?
Yep.
Be real.
Get
Just like this
real.
podcast. Get real.
Okay.
Get real
Get
with yourself.
real. We're coming for you. Um, Absolutely, y'all. And on that note of like getting real, a little transparency here. Shanice kept it real with me, and years ago, where she, in her own way, told me I continued to cross her boundaries and I wasn't taking her serious. Shanice and I have a great. You don't remember this?
I'm not sure. And I feel like we don't have
Oh,
enough time to get into it.
oh, no, no, no. Well, I was just saying, like, example of sometimes, yes, it could be the person closest to you that is, crossing it. I wasn't even going, girl, don't even get me started on that. But
Oh,
why I'm even bringing that up is simply by Shanique. Like, again, I was shocked by her saying that, but it also was like, oh, no, I need to make a change, right? Because that's not fair to Shanice. It's not fair to our relationship. And what we're talking about here of like recognizing who it is, why, and is it a part where you need to kind of circle back and eliminate? I didn't want that in my relationship with Shanice.
hmm.
So sometimes it is that rawness and realness that you need to give out. And of course, if that person's not, you know, getting what you putting down, time
Shoot,
to
I might
exit.
want to refresh my memory just so I know
Oh, here
that.
she go.
No, so
Let's wrap it
maybe
up.
catch us on our live and
Come on.
maybe additional information about what Jasmine was leaving us on a cliffhanger with.
I was genuinely shocked. I was like,
Hey, so
so
catch us on our live. You know where to find us. YouTube. If you follow us on Facebook, we're there as well. Let us know what you think. Like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. We may have a guest for you next week. That is our hope. But either way, we're going to be there. So that's where you need to be.
what time?
8 p.m. next Thursday.
Yep, April 18th, y'all.
We'll let you know if that
Tap
changes. But
in.
be there, be square.
All right, fam, bam.
All right. Bye, y'all.
Peace and agree.